Hi guys, it's Marie, and today I want to share with you guys my January book haul. It's a lot more books that I actually intended on getting. Yeah, I'm going to move through them kind of quickly because I don't want the video to be too long. So let's get started. Ensnared by A.G. Howard. This is the third book in the Splintered trilogy. I remember telling you guys about this trilogy in previous videos. It takes the Alice in Wonderland story and twists it. It doesn't actually retell what we already know about Alice in Wonderland, but it's kind of like picking up where it left off. I read the first book, Splintered, which I loved, and I still have to read the second one, but now that I have book 3, I will probably marathon them, so yay! The Astonishing Life of Octavian Nothing, Traitor to the Nation. This is by M.T. Anderson. He also wrote one of my favorite books, Feed, which is completely different from this story. I won't tell you too much because it's pretty vague, and I think the best thing for this book is going in not knowing too much. So all you know is that Octavian is a young enslaved boy. This takes place, I believe, in the 1700s, or maybe it's the 1600s. He has the finest education, the finest clothing. He lives a life of luxury, but then he discovers the secret about his guardians, and I believe he has multiple guardians. It's kind of a secret society. He discovers the reason they're raising him in this manner. This is book 1 in a duology, and I'm not going to tell you guys any more because 1, I don't know more about it, and 2, this is the kind of book you don't really want to know too much going in. I told you guys about this series, Throne of Glass. I believe maybe in my a couple of videos ago, I was reading The Assassin's Blade, which is like the collection of novellas. This is book 2 and this is book 3. I don't have book 1, and I probably won't be purchasing book 1 until I'm sure that I can get the matching cover, because I'm super picky like that, as I'm sure a lot of you guys are as well. So I'll probably be reading that on ebook from the library. Readers that I trust have told me that Throne of Glass is good, but it's not as great as book 2 and book 3. So apparently the series just gets better and better. I read The Assassin's Blade. I love The Assassin's Blade. I kind of became addicted. So I'm excited to read this. I'm actually going to stop saying that I'm excited to read this. I'm pretty much excited to read everything that I get, because if I'm not excited about it, I don't get it. So I'll just try to stop saying that and just kind of take that as a given. Golden Sun by Pierce Brown. This is book 2 of the Red Rising trilogy, so I'm not going to tell you anything about this because that would be a spoiler, but I will say that I did talk about Red Rising in a previous video. It involves a group of young people. It takes place on Mars. It's an action adventure, and I would say that it's kind of like in the vein of Hunger Games and Harry Potter, because there are certain elements that are very similar to those. But yes. Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson is going to be, I believe, 13 books, and it's pretty thick. This is huge. I actually have a lot of Brandon Sanderson's books. I just haven't gotten around to reading them yet, but I've watched like all of his lectures online. If you guys are aspiring writers, check out Write on Dragons or Write About Dragons, and like all of his lectures are there. He also has his own YouTube channel that he updates. Not as much though, I don't think. So I think if you go to Write About Dragons, you'll pretty much get the most lectures. It's a fantasy. That's really all I know. But Brandon Sanderson, I trust him as a writer just because I trust him as a teacher. I've heard nothing but good things about Mistborn, for instance, which I'm planning on reading this month, hopefully. I really want to get to that. Please ignore Vera. This book is by A.S. King. A.S. King wrote one of my favorite books ever, Gloria O'Brien's History of the Future. Came out last year, and it is so amazing. I highly recommend that one. Actually, I read Ask the Passengers, which was really cool too. She always kind of adds in an interesting element. For Gloria O'Brien's History of the Future, there's that whole mummified bat that they drink. The main character, Gloria O'Brien, is able to see the future and what happens to the nation and herself. In Ask the Passengers, when the main character has time to herself, she like goes out onto a picnic bench, she lays out and she looks at the sky, and she kind of imagines where the passengers are going, what their lives are like, but she asks the passengers questions about what's going on with her. So if whatever she's thinking, she kind of just sends that emotion into the sky, and then you cut away to the plane, and then you can kind of get a quick little snippet, like half a page, maybe a whole page, of the sudden emotion that the passenger feels that's kind of been thrown at them from the ground, from the main character. They're kind of contemplating the same things, the same issues, and how it relates to both of their lives. And with Please Ignore Vera Dietz, I just know that there's a girl, a boy named Charlie, I don't know if that's her friend or her brother, who died, and she has to clear his name, and there is a pagoda. You get the pagoda's point of view as well, which is really interesting. Elsewhere by Gabrielle Zevin. This is one of my favorite books of 2013. I believe it was 2013, or maybe it was 2014. No, it was one of my favorite books of 2013. I read it as an ebook, and it was an ebook library loan, so because I loved it so much, it's definitely something I felt I needed for my collection, so now I have it. I don't know a whole lot about Elizabeth Bear's Range of Ghosts. I think it's a trilogy, but I've heard nothing but great things about this. She took a different approach as far as the world building, so it's more, I believe, Asian. I believe there are some Mongolian influences. I listened to an interview that she had on, I think, Geek's Guide to the Galaxy. Great podcast, by the way. You guys should check that out. And she was just talking about, was it Geek's? It was either Wired's Geek's Guide to the Galaxy podcast, or it was Tor.com's Rocket Talk, which is also another great podcast I like listening to. This would be an interesting read. It's not too thick of a fantasy. I'm really looking forward to seeing how she's going to really combine all of those high fantasy story elements in such a compact, tight book. My next 4 books I received from my friend Christina Burke at Christina Reads YA, and also she has a YouTube channel, The Lushables, so make sure you check that out. Ghosts of Heaven, which I told you guys is one of my most anticipated reads for this year. I'm so excited. I can't wait to delve into it. I actually read, I think, the first 30 pages because it was in a sample. I'll just go over it really quickly since I already told you guys about this book. It's the whole 4 stories intertwined into one, starting in the Paleolithic era with a girl who kind of begins the first forms of writing, and then we go to the witch hunts in the 17th century, I believe, and then we're in the 1920s with a young poet who is going mad, or he's in an insane asylum, and then we're off into the future. We're going to colonize a new planet. One of my most anticipated reads for this year. I'll let you guys know how it goes. The Space Between by Brenna Yovanoff. This is about a girl named Daphne who lives in hell. She actually is the daughter of a fallen angel and a demon. She leaves hell to go to Earth to search for someone. See, I don't know too much about this. I told you guys about Flap Copy. The little that I was getting, I was like, okay, that's enough for me. She goes to Earth in search of someone in particular, and she begins to develop feelings for a boy. She learns what it's like to be human. She also encounters some violent archangels. I want to say she was like the daughter of, I thought it was something where Lilith was involved. I didn't see it in the book, but when I was researching the book, that's really all I know about this, but it sounded really, really good. This is How You Lose Her by Junot Diaz. Junot Diaz won the Pulitzer for The Brief and Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde. I haven't read that one yet, but the main character's name in that story is Junior, and he actually appears in this story too. I actually read I think I've read a few chapters of this, and it seems like there are multiple stories, and it's all about relationships, and from what I gathered so far, and whether that's love between a boyfriend and a girlfriend, a father and a son, it's pretty much everything that has to deal with our heart. The writing is really funny, very poetic. Like I said, I already read a few chapters of this, but it was so long ago that I'm probably going to just go ahead and read the whole thing again. It's pretty thin, so I'll just start from page 1 and yeah, take it from there. The last book that Christina sent me is All These Things I've Done by Gabrielle Zevin. She is the one who wrote Elsewhere. This is actually book 1 in a trilogy. All I know is it's kind of combines, it's like love and action adventure combined with mafia, but in this world, chocolate caffeine is illegal, and the main character is the daughter of a mafia boss. This trilogy is already complete. I've been wanting to read this for a long time, so I'm finally going to be getting to it. Passionaries, book 2 in the Blessed trilogy by Tonya Hurley. I actually read most of the Blessed. I didn't finish it. It's kind of hard to explain, and I also don't think I should explain too much. There are 3 girls, completely different walks of life. The question is, are they living saints? And then there's one mystery boy who kind of brings them together. We don't know for what purpose, and we don't know what he is or who he is exactly. I'm guessing we find that out in book 2. Actually, let me show you book 1. This is book 1. The cover totally won me over. It's such a beautiful book. The inside, so dope. The inside artwork is so cool. It's the inside of the book. Sometimes I actually covered the book with this, and then I switched it up because I liked it. She's one of the girls, and I think they just decided to go with a different direction for book 2, so we don't have any of the girls on the cover. We just kind of have this design here, which looks really great too. It's very Givenchy, actually. The Book of Shadows by Robin Wasserman. This has been said to be a not exactly the same thing, but kind of like a YA thriller in the vein of The Da Vinci Code, which intrigued me automatically. It takes place in Prague. We have a protagonist, her dead friend, her catatonic friend, and a trail of blood that takes her to Europe, as well as a secret society. One night, one body broken in a pool of blood, one killer lost in the shadows, one girl left behind, left alone to face the consequences, to find the truth, to avenge the dead. And this is a standalone book, so the story is wrapped up in a single book. Finally, I have This Is Where I Leave You by Jonathan Tropper. I actually just finished reading this book several days ago. If you guys aren't aware, This Is Where I Leave You is a movie. It's starring Jane Fonda, Tina Fey, Jason Bateman, and it was a hilarious movie. And it stayed pretty true to the book. Probably going to include this book in my wrap-up, so I'm not going to say too much about it now. I will say there are some things that happen in this book that one might feel would be much more problematic than what happened in the movie. So there were some changes made for the movie, because I think if we saw it in the movie, we wouldn't be able to gloss over certain events. That's all I'll say. I liked the character more in the movie, actually, the character version. It was really cool being in his head. He's very bitter because, well, you guys know, it's not a spoiler, he's going through a divorce. Like from page 1, we see what's going on with that. Although we can see what's going on in his head, a lot of the things that I find that there's a lot of misogyny in the book. Not the book itself, but a few of the characters to be a bit misogynistic, and the main character I find to be very sexist. So it's kind of hard to like him. It was hard to like him, but I don't have to like every character. I mean, I love Tony Soprano. Tony Soprano did some crazy things, but you know what? That's my guy. Same goes with Tony Montana. So I don't believe that a character has to be a goody-goody for you to like him, but he's bitter. He's a bitter guy, even though it's not explicitly said so in the story. See, I'm kind of giving you guys the whole wrap-up right now. I'm not going to do that now. We'll do this later. I will include it in my wrap-up for January. But yes, This Is Where I Leave You by Jonathan Tropper. If you haven't seen the movie, it's pretty funny, so check it out. So that was my January book haul. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. My brain is like really trying to, it's like working overtime, because I'm trying to like tell you guys what the story is about without spoiling you, and also give you as much information as I can, considering that I myself only look for certain elements when I'm trying to figure out if I want to read a book or not. Like, I don't read the entire synopsis. So coming in with limited information, and then also not wanting to spoil you, because like I said, I have spoiled some people before in the past. My bad. I guess I try to just tell you why I like it or why I'm interested in it, but I still want to give you guys a clue as far as to what it's about, so you can decide for yourselves if you're into it. That was a long explanation. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like the video if you liked it. And please comment below to tell me what you guys thought of these books and any of the books that you're looking forward to this month and any of the books that you hauled this month. See you guys later. Bye! This next book is called The Ghosts of Heaven by Marcus Sedgwick. Now, I am really looking forward to this one. Seriously, it sounds like it might be one of the most epic reads ever. It comes out January 6th,